Welcome to a new video lesson. In today's lesson, I will give an analysis of Clear Light of Day by Anita Desai. So, let's begin. The next section begins with the information that Tara is married and gone, while Aunt Mira is more and more confined. So, what we see here is that we see that at one place there is liberation, at another place in the same house we see there is confinement. Okay, Raja is shown to be calmer now. She says, Bim says, was made shy by the forces that Raja spoke, and something in her cringed at the heavy sentimentality of the expression that was alien to her. So what we see here is that they are at their own spaces. Bim is at her own space, Raja is in his own space, while Aunt Mira is completely lost in her own world. In the meantime, what we will see in this section is that the relationship developing between Dr. Biswas and Bim. Bim began to wish that Raja would not discuss his poetry with her. Why did he not read it to Dr. Biswas? And he suggested that Dr. Biswas is a poetic person, also because it would be much more responsive, because he plays violin, and she informed Raja that he had told Bim that he plays violin, and surely Dr. Biswas would be a sensitive one, would be more poetic than Bim, who is an unpoetic person. So what this began here is that have you ever heard him? No. Then what makes you think he could be a musician? Raja asks. He has soul. Raja, soul. That is been said by Bim. Oh, Mozart. They make a fun of him. Nevertheless, Bim suggested Dr. Biswas that he brings the violin with him one day and play for them. But this, on the other way, embarrassed him so much that he became quite agitated and dropped his bag, spilled his stethoscope, and fumbled about the floor, and he hesitated and spoke quite incongruently by saying that no, he will not. But ultimately, instead, he said that instead he would be honored if Bim will come with him to a concert to hear Mozart. She was exasperated with all the things, all the pleadings that Dr. Biswas was making. That if you remember that Dr. Biswas has also asked Bim to come with him for a concert, and Bim has rejected it, right? But this is the same thing again. He is asking Bim to come again, and almost angrily or in an exasperated way, she said that all right, I will come. And the face of Dr. Biswas was like a fish which has just swallowed a hook, and it had no expression. He could not speak anything. He was totally taken aback that Bim would agree to go with him. Okay, so through the other door, Raja was laughing. Raja laughed thoroughly, and he said that you have put the lead on him this time, Bim. So, acha, Mozart wailed in tremendo and clapped his hands under his chin, and Bim shamefacedly laughed. Mozart, said Dr. Biswas, and they went for it. After, there was nothing in life, only Mozart. So he kept on explaining what Mozart meant to him, the importance of it, the music, what music, um, the place that music has in his life. Uh, Only Mozart, repeated Beam, smoking his first cigarette thoughtfully. So what she felt. Also, Dr. Biswas was perplexed. In seeing that she could hardly believe her ears. Heard right. Okay, that was the beginning. The whole world of music unfolded for me. That is spoken by Dr. Biswas. He says that he went to the German nation. He went to Germany for studying science, for getting the degree of medicine. But what he found there was music. The music was of high standard, and in Berlin it was quite magnificent. As he spoke, his eyes was shining like anything. Okay, it took it took the space of his life. It showed that he had the ardor, he had the um, lifelike quality. For if he had not been a doctor, he would surely have pursued in music. Beam was wondering in saying the medicine once upon taken the music. Beam, with the taste of the tobacco on her tongue, finding familiar, like something she had tasted before. When and what? So they kept on talking. Mostly Dr. Biswas continued his talking, and he said that he never slept when he was in Germany, and because he had so much to learn. There was medicine, there was music, and most importantly there was the German language, which he was interested in. Beam seemed restlessly. He was steering restlessly and on the velvet sofa, and he was continuously speaking. He was continuously speaking of his deeds in Germany. Um, so he also spoke about that every time that he touched the violin or tried to make the sound, he felt that uh, every time, all the time, it reminded him of the Mozart concert of Germany, his student years in Germany, and everything. So what we feel, that what we understand, that this has two perspectives. Number one, it reveals the character of Dr. Biswas, right? And it also shows that how these two characters, Beam and Dr. Biswas, are different from each other. How they are different? Number first difference, that is that they had the Dr. Biswas had the privilege to spend his time in anything that he liked, mostly medicine and learning a language. Whereas on the other hand, Beam is a person who has to drop out of college, right, because to take care of the family. So their life is was parallel running. But what we see here is that the turns have taken into different direction. On the other hand, they have not they Dr. Biswas have gone out of the country in order to study, where he had been exposed to different kinds of learning, most importantly German language, medicine, and especially for his soul, the Mozart. But what we see here is that uh, expansion is not provided to Beam. They are completely opposite to each other. They are the two sides of the same coin. Okay, they are the opposite sides of the same coin, where Beam has got the opportunity to study, but And as we will learn here in this section only, that she had to drop out of college when Aunt Mira was ill, because she was the one who had to take care of her. So the luxuries of life that Dr. Biswas can afford is not available to um, Bim. The things that Dr. Biswas can indulge in is a luxury for her, and it won't be able for him to get into the mold of Bim, or Bim won't have the time, Bim won't have the chance to get into the mold of Dr. Biswas, because their lives are completely different. Their lives are parallel to each other with no cross sections. Okay, the only connection that they have is that of a doctor and patient in the house. Okay, or the guardian of the family and the doctor. Okay, Bim is the guardian of the family. So this is the more or the deeper perspective of their relationship. But what this going to the going to the concert shows that the life of Dr. Biswas is opening up in front of Bim, as if to give a chance, as if to provide a chance for Bim to know him and to get out of the situation that she has been put into. Life does give you a chance. Okay, it is the choices we make that make the differences, right? If Bim would have chosen Dr. Biswas, she would have gone out of the family like Tara. Life does give you chance, but it is the responsibilities that were more important for Bim. So he did not choose to marry. That we will be coming into. What we see here is that she lives with you, that is being asked by Bim. So who is she? She is here the mother of Dr. Biswas. Dr. Biswas says that I play myself, inflict playing on my mother, who is an old-fashioned Bengali lady and likes only Tagore songs, suffers in silence because she loves me. I am a only son. So what is me? We come to know more about Dr. Biswas, that when he plays the violin, only his mother hears that, and he's, according to him, she suffers that because she likes only Tagore song, being a orthodox or traditional old-fashioned and Bengali. She likes only, that is Dr. Biswas's mother likes only Tagore songs. But what we see here is that as because she loves, according to Dr. Biswas, as because she loves her only son, she bears that. So we come to know more about his family. That is what is being asked by Bim. Does she live with you? The reply comes here, yes, in a flat. We live in a flat in Daryaganj. My sister married and went to live in Calcutta. So now I am an only child. It is a great responsibility being an only child of a loving mother, he said, his face darkening visibly. But what is important here is that the next line that Bim says, I wouldn't know. Right. It is a great responsibility. Dr. Biswas says it is a great responsibility for the only child to take care of the mother, to take care of the parents. What we see here is that Bim's expression that she would not know comes out of her inability, of her ill luck, you might say, that she could not even help her, or could not even take the responsibility of a mother, of a father, right? Because they are gone, they have died. She could not even take the responsibility of these people. she did not got the chance, she did not have the chance to take care of them. I didn't have one. This line, I didn't have one. They obviously, she had a mother, she had a father, but what didn't she have? She didn't have a loving mother, or she didn't have a loving father whom she would take care, right? So love does not uh, comes out, love does not happen to exist without a sense of uh, mutually respecting, mutually existing thing. It should exist in a mutual way. Love never exists without their love never exists without any um, loving back, right? So what we see here is that the feelings that she has are quite genuine, that she never liked, she never found out that uh, what love is of a mother, what love happens to be, what mother's love happens to be, right? So that's why she is saying that I didn't have one. In the meantime, Bim was being spoken to by Dr. Biswas in his own vague way, and Bim suddenly said, I have finished. I have quite lost, as if he had lost quite interest in Dr. Biswas's story. And they move on, they move through the leafy trees of the Connaught Place, the red buses and bundled. What we see here is that um, they reach the house. I have never left Raja. Now we must go. What she says is that she is ready to leave the place. Now she says that now we must go. I have never left Raja alone for so long, or Mira Masi. They hadn't been to the concert at Freesounds Hall before coming to Davis Cause. So what we see here is that they had been to the concert, they had been to the concert of Freeman's Hall before coming to Davicos. So what we see here is that in spite of the lack of loving mother in Bim's family, what we see here is that she loves the motherly figure that she has in her life, that is Aunt Mira. She is constantly thinking of Aunt Mira, of Raja, the only family that she has, the only family that has loved her back, right? So what we see here is that the love that is seen in within Bim could have been reflected by her towards her parents, but unfortunately she was not loved back. They had their own life, that is, her parents had their own life in the clubs and everything, in cards. So what we see here is that these children were a burden for them, these children were a baggage for them. So their love was not flowing towards them, and respectively the love of the children did not flow back to them, right? So this is the difference between Dr. Biswas's family and the family of Bim. He stood up once unapologetically, but that is why I bought you out. Oh yes, for the pleasure of talking you to hear little orchestra, but also to give you a change. You can't always be at home nursing your family. You will fall ill yourself. That is being spoken by Dr. Biswas. He creates out a space where he could be the hero, he could be the knight in shining armor, as if he is there to rescue her, as if he is there to love her. But what we see here is that Bim is such kind of a person uh, who needs not any rescue. She her priorities in life are concerned. So far as the priorities of her life are concerned, she is focused only with she is focused only with uh, helping out the family members, taking care of the family members. She wants nothing else, she wants nothing more from life. That is seen in the Bim's laugh more. Bim laughed, which was more scornful than humor. Okay, so I could have been a nurse or a matron in a plague hospital. I can handle it well. So what we see here is that she is considering her position in life by stating that she has devoted her life for the betterment of Raja and Aunt Mira. And what we see here is that she is not allowing to break the walls that she has created around her, imaginary walls, obviously, uh, by Dr. Biswas. Dr. Biswas is affectionate towards her. It shows that he has feelings for her, but what we see here is that the love that grows within him, is not reciprocated within Bim. Okay, the love that grows within Dr. Biswas is not growing within Bim, because he is much more focused with the duty that is in a hand, that is of saving, of taking care of Raja and Aunt Mira. So another thing that we see here is that the nursing thing, Dr. Biswas finds a point of talking back, that is nurse, which is also related to medicine, his own profession. So he says that, have you really thought of nursing? But the nursing that Bim is doing is, she says that the thing that she is doing is only nursing, right? But what Dr. Biswas was speaking was as a profession. So they are both talking of the same thing, they are doing the same thing, almost doing the same thing, but they are on different planes, right? Their understanding level is almost same, but they are different in the perspective that they are talking of nursing, but when Dr. Biswas is talking, it is about the profession, whereas when Beam is talking about it, it is only about taking care and not just earning money. It is taking care of the loved ones. Okay, so Dr. Biswas says, have you considered it as a profession? And Bim is quite assured that no, she is quite assured, she is quite focused that she won't take that as a profession. If he gets time, when Raja gets well and Armira gets well, if she gets the time, she thinks she will go back to college and finish the history course that she has dropped out when Aunt Mira fell ill. And she says that I will get my degree, I might teach. Okay, so there is a focused kind of attitude within her. She is a strong character, she is a tough woman to impress by saying all those words of which could be used to impress other girls. But what we see here is that she is a strong character, she is so much focused not just in her studies or anything, she is focused in her life. She is determined, she is determined to take care of the family members that are present, Raja and Aunt Mira. That is all she have. She does not even thought of she does not even just, what can you say, she was not concerned about her career, what would happen to her career if she drops out. She is quite determined that she would go back after all this is over. She would determine that after all this is over to go. She is determined to go back and continue her lesson. But most importantly, primarily, it is important for him. It is important for it is important for Bim to take care of the family who have been her support system. Clear? So this is the demarcation. This is the character sketch of Bim also, that she is determined, she is focused about her studies also, about her career also, that she would teach. But what we see here is that she is focused about teaching, but also she is focused about taking care of her family before everything else. All this led Dr. Biswas to admire her more. He was all admiration. In the bus going home, while Bim gazed out of the window, the violet globes of the street lamps lighted the post office, and the tin roads began, and the beggars. He talked again of his student days and of his professors that had invited him home for fruit, wine, biscuits and everything. What we see here is that Dr. Biswas's character is also portrayed here. He is a soft-hearted man, devoted and indebted to everything that has happened to her. Right. So what we see here is that there is a contrast between Bim and Dr. Biswas. And also there is a demarcation, there is a distinction, but also a comparison that is made. The only character that distinguishes them is the determination that they have. A strong character is that of strong metal. A character of strong metal is present within Bim, where she is concerned about the family members, she is concerned about the studies that she would do after everything is well. But what we see here is that she does not show that she is doing out of any indebtedness, right? But what we see here is that she is quite unemotional in expressing those things. She is quite emotional, but she does not express those emotions. She is quite rigid in expressing those. She is a closet in expressing those emotions, right? Whereas what we see here is that Dr. Biswas is much more emotional, much more open in with respect to the emotional quotient. He is always talking about his life, right? Yes, Bim said, turning to briefly. You are lucky, Dr. Biswas. Lucky? He stopped short in the pattern of reminiscence. How am I lucky, do you think? You have known such glories, such joys. Ah, he said, folded his arms across the chest and looked gloomily. He did not speak again, only shook his head stubbornly when she asked him not to bother to see her home. But the doctor went on. The bus lumbered the city. They swarmed. Bim felt that the city would never recover from the horror, that it would be changed, and it had already changed. No longer the city she had been born in. So what we see here is that through the life across a new border, what the struggles, the millions of refugees that are coming in, the raging of hearts, the housing, the fires that are blowing, within all this, what we see that the city is changing, right? There are swarms of crippled life all over. There are millions of refugees all over the place. What we see here is that the city that she has born into, she was born, has completely changed, right? And it is changing. No, it is no longer the same. She set her jaw and stared at the shadowy thickness stretched with it. What we see here is that Dr. Biswas's lips too were pinched together, silent. He accompanied her all the way to a bus stop and then walked down the Bella Road to her gate. So, in spite of her refusing him to go, he accompanies her to the gate. What we see here is that Dr. Biswas is totally in love with Bim, and what we see here is that the affection is so much, or the feelings are so high, that he is totally loving spending time with her and is wanting more and more time to be spent with her. He says that it was the most beautiful evening I have had since coming back to India. I wish that you. But he was stopped before saying anything else. Because of Bim's laughter, before Bim laughed and said, "Now you are prompting me to say the things I should be saying to you. I am the one to say thank you, surely." Because he has taken her out of the surrounding, take her out of the place where she was confined to, right? But you can't possibly know that it was what it has meant to meet me. Only please to come with me again. He requests Bim to come with him again. But what is important here to see that at such a place where when they are returning home, their returning home is that of a leisure. They have spent a leisurely time to develop their bonding. Whether it has developed or not will remain a question. It had developed to a certain extent, but whether it is quite important, quite fruitful, that would be a question. But what we see here is that this question will remain because of the changing in the society. There is changes, there is always a changing perspective in the life of Bim, right? Bim is going through a patch where her family members are moving away, or they are suffering, right? Whereas on the other hand, her life is going to take a turn, or is possibly having a chance to get a turn. She will be getting a chance to take a turn, take a life changing event, right? They are like in a place where their life would change for a better way. Whereas in contrast, they are in contrast with the city, they are in contrast with the society, which has also gone through a change, but not for a better living. It might be said that why not, it is a better living because we have gained independence and everything. But when we look into the lives of people of the minority sections, of those who have been uprooted from their homes on both sides of the new border, right? What we see here is that there is a uprooting in their lives. They are now refugees, right? So there is a possibility of Bim also becoming a refugee, Bim also being uprooted from the family that she has born into, and being placed or being taken into the family of Biswas, right? But what we see here is that Bim is so fixed, Bim is so rigid, Bim is so determined that she is much more focused, much more determined to take care of the family that she is born into, right? She knows her responsibilities. Though in case of the society, due to the partition, the situations have forced millions of people to be uprooted from from their homes. Whereas on the other hand, in the life of Bim, or the lives of Tara, Bim, Raja and Aunt Masi, the changes have been different. These changes, what has it done? It has uprooted Tara from her family. The loose bonding that was present, it has uprooted Tara from her own family and placed her in a different family where she is quite happy. Whereas what we see here is that this situation has forced Raja to be more ingrained, more fixed to to his family. And also the situation in the life of Aunt Meera, that her physical situation, that her mental situation has forced her more, it had rooted her more to the family. And for Bim, the situation that has been created within the family has not uprooted her. It has made her more determined for taking care of the family. It has more rooted her to be present, to be ingrained, to be deep rooted within the family, to take care of it. Right? So this is the difference between the society and Bim's life. There is partition, there is division, they have their own spaces. But what we find here is that Bim is much more determined to take care of the family. She is much more rooted into the family. She lives her own life, lives her own career, the prospects of her own career. She lives a course of history in college. She drops out of it in order to take care of the family. Right? So the situation of that Dr. Biswas creates over here, that of uprooting her, not in a weird or bad sense, but what we see here is that this uprooting would have held her life to be much more simple, much more in a simplistic way, and in a normal way, so called the traditional normal way that a woman would ask for, getting married, having children and everything, right? But as she is close to her family, she is not going to go that way. That is what is shown over here as, oh, I don't know. When she is being offered, she is being asked to go with him with him to a new place or anywhere, to go out with him again. He says, I don't know, Bim said in a panic, and pushed the gate so that he had to let go of the catch to save his fingers. So the situation is that hurrying through, she shut the gate between them. So it is a physical gate that the writer is talking about. But what we will see here is that this physical closing of the boundary gate, is actually shutting of the gate, closing of the chances of their coming together. Okay, the gate of their coming together is closed. The chances of their coming together is closed, and he had to take away his fingers. In order to save his fingers from the from crashing it or getting hurt from that the gate, right, or the edges of the gate, or the catch of the gate, right? Metaphorically, when we see that Dr. Biswas had to remove him from the life of Bim, else if he had not removed him, it would have been harmful, it would have been detrimental for Dr. Biswas also. That is metaphorically said here. Yes, but you can't be a slave to them. it's really not right for me to have been out for so long with Raja ill and my aunt. You know my aunt. He So the moment he goes back to the house, what we see here is that his the moment she goes back to her house, the thinking is concerned with her family. Even when she was outside, the concern of her was family. But what we see here is that Dr. Biswas is thinking about himself. He says that you cannot be a slave to them. Come and meet my mother, please, Miss Das. He gulped, come and meet my mother, please. So he is totally in love. He is taking the next steps so that they can get acquaintance again, right? The worst things are growing red, and she said hastily, yes, but I must run. I must see Raja and my aunt. You know my aunt, and Begum is barking. Begum, stop. So, dashing up the drive, then flew up the steps to where Raja was sitting in the dark watching. She sank down the basket chair beside, put her face into her hands, grimaced as hideously as she knew how, while Raja laughed. So, what we see here is that there is this sense of feeling within Bim that she is the only protector of the family. Rightly so. Everyone has left. There is no one to support her. She is the only person on whom Raja and Aunt Meera could depend on. Right? So she knows her duties. She is much more focused on those duties rather than finding any affection from a doctor, person who would be an eligible husband. Right? So we will continue the next sections. Though it is an unnatural place to end, but the next section focuses on another things. Her visit to the Dr. Biswas's mother. So let's end it here, where Raja was laughing, seeing Bim come, where he says, Raja demanded, making fun of the situation by saying, did he play you the violin, Bim? So, diddly dum, no. So what we see here is that in spite of all these things, Raja is in a jolly mood because he is getting the information of the Hyder Ali family. And what we see here is that there is a prospect of Bim getting out of the family, but she is rooted so much within the family. She is their last hope, Raja and Aunt Meera's last hope. That's why she is not thinking of anything else like getting married or getting any affair, getting any bonding with anyone else. So what we see here is that she is so concerned with the family that she is not going to do anything like that. Though whether both things could be managed by her is a question. But unfortunately, she focuses all her duties towards her own family. Right? That has brought the change. That decision has brought the change. We will see how it has been made. Okay, in the next class. Thank you.